Auburn Tigers have to get this thing figured out in a hurry if they want this class to look like it had the potential to look. You can't get any plainer than that. Auburn has talent in multiple places. You got an NFL corner in Kane Lee. You got a safety transfer from Texas who can really get everybody else lined up in Jaron Thompson. You got linebackers that are playing. Dorian Mousey has been amazing this year. Austin Keys is back. He looks very fast and very physical. You got a D-line. You got a budding star on the defensive line, and Keldric Faulk. Shout out to K. Faulk. He'll be on this show later on. Offensively, you have one of the youngest and better wide receiver rooms in the country when it comes to just plain flat-out talent. Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, who got the ball a few times yesterday. Kudos to Hugh Freeze and staff for getting him involved, one of the better athletes in the nation. Offensive line it has some young pieces, and you got some transfer portal pieces. You got two running backs who can be really explosive. They do have to have better ball control, but you got guys who can move the ball on the ground. And yes, we know about the quarterback issues, but I've seen worse. I'm not saying that it's perfect. Auburn has to band together. And this is the time, if I'm a guy, and yes, I went to Auburn, and I understand, and I've seen things in the past that were kind of like this. And this is where the intangibles of Auburn come to play. What the coaching staff has to do is figure out a way to get the most out of what you have. One thing that I think that you have to do is figure out how to get more production running from the quarterback position to keep the ball on the ground. We've seen that you cannot get vertical at this point. For whatever reason, right now you don't have the tools to get vertical like you want to. When teams are daring Auburn to beat you in one-on-one situations, they haven't been able to do it. All right, so you're going to have to scheme people open, and now you're going to have to be able to fight 8 in the box. How do you do that? You say, look, all right, we're not even going to try to trick you. Bro, the quarterback is running the ball. Think about Auburn versus Texas A&M after Brian Harsin was dismissed, and you got Will Friend and Cadillac Williams coming up with an offense, and all they did was run the ball and play defense, bro. A game they totally should not have won. Less talented roster, but they figured it out. They didn't have a quarterback at the time. They weren't able to move the ball from the quarterback position. All right? They figured it out. They went 2-2 and with a roster they should not have went 2-2 with. That could have been 0-4, especially with how that season ended and all the tumultuous things and drama and all of that. So if I'm Auburn, I figure out a way. Sam Brown, the guy from Cal, the former quarterback that you got from Cal that you moved to wide receiver, find him a package. I'm not saying he has to be the end-all, be-all, but with that type of speed at the quarterback position, who is at least a threat to throw the ball, find him a package. He can keep you in the ball game. Right now, Auburn has to stay in games like they've been doing and figure out a way to scrap together wins if you want to continue to be competitive. Right now, you should have been at least you really should have been 4-0, Auburn. You should be 4-0 right now. And that's what everybody was pegging. Auburn to be 4-0. Nobody counted Cal and Arkansas as losses. So now is the time for Auburn to band together and figure out a way. If this has to be a defensive ball club that is led by the defense, then by God, that's what you have to do. But if you think that at this point a switch is going to go off and you're like, and Cam Newton is dropping out of the sky or Jarrett Stidham or anybody, it's not happening. So you got to start. You cannot function in wishes and maybes. You got to go with reality and what you have. And I think Auburn has the capability to do that. They play good enough defense at this point that if you play complementary football, even if it gets down to lining up in I formation, slowing the game down, not slowing the game down, eating up the clock, speeding the game up by running the ball is what I mean. You got to figure out a way because what we are seeing right now, and I know the offense is very close to clicking. Like, in Hugh Freeze's mind, he's saying I've got wide receivers open, but you aren't hitting them, and that's a problem. It's not that you're just not hitting the receivers that are open. You're hitting the other team. That's a problem. So Auburn, you got to figure out a way to band together, and you've got young stars that if you could keep this team to salvage an 8-4 season out of this, 7-5, somewhere in there. Positive. You want to be positive. You want to get into the positive. You want to get into the green, into the black, whatever you call it. You don't want to be in the red. You don't want to go 5 wins, 6 wins, back to 5. It's not good. But I've got my man Zac Blackerby from Locked On Auburn. He's going to come on and we'll talk about it. And then I've also got young star Keldric Faulk, who has a really great perspective on how the team can band together and his attitude. And he's having a heck of a season, man. He's got 3 sacks in 4 games, leads the SEC in pressure. So there are some bright spots for Auburn, and I think that Auburn can do this, but they have to band together and use the spirit of the Plains. Let's get it. On today's 5-Star Flex, I have an Auburn legend, Zac Blackerby of Locked On Auburn. Zac, what's going on?
Hey, man, always a pleasure to chat with you.
Man, absolutely, man. It's a pleasure to have you. All right, we got to get into it. Auburn goes out. They're 2-2. Nobody was expecting Auburn to go 2-2 in their first 4 games. What's the pulse like on the Plains right now?
I think there's a lot of not knowing like how bad this could potentially be. I think there's a lot of realization settling in after that 24-14 kind of upset loss to Arkansas, where people are saying, okay, like it's almost like damage control mode where, all right, well, you know, Oklahoma looks grim. Georgia looks grim. Missouri, Kentucky, can Auburn beat Vandy at home? Like it's not a great situation. So then you ask yourself, can they hold on to this recruiting class and last year's recruiting class? Can you keep them from entering the portal in December if Auburn goes 5-7 or 4-8 or 3-9? I think that's what people are asking right now.
What do you think the pulse is with the recruits right now? I know you're tapped in. You know a lot of people in Auburn. What's the general consensus about Auburn's ability to keep this class intact?
Yeah, so whenever this coaching staff is pitching these kids, like none of the pitch was ever, we're going to be great in 2024. It was always selling the future. And so I imagine that part of that is altered a little bit. Say like, hey, look, we need you. Like we need you guys on the Plains to get here ASAP. But I can't imagine, especially if you're an offensive player, you're a quarterback, or you're Deuce Knight, who seems to go to Auburn every chance he gets now, that you're not at least asking yourself the question of like, okay, well, if I was out there, would I be set up to succeed? Because like these guys that are playing quarterback right now, how much are they being set up to succeed by the scheme and the coaching staff? And then if I mess up, like Hugh Freeze is going to call me out from the podium right after the game. Like I'm sure they're asking those questions. There's no way that's not coming up.
So when you think about a guy like Deuce Knight, someone who can do the things that Peyton Thorne and Hank Brown do well combined, someone who can run really well and can also throw with accuracy, would it not kind of be like, you know, all they're missing is me? Do you feel like Auburn has the other pieces in place where recruiting a quarterback like a Deuce Knight could be the missing link?
Yeah, and I think when you go back and look at the tape, it's not perfect, but there were guys open on a lot of those picks. Like there were guys where it's like if you zero in on that throw, or if you're under pressure and you have the athletic ability to get out of it, like it does offer a different solution to the problem that Auburn's offense is dealing with. So sure, I think so. And especially, I think this is something that folks who don't really get to talk to these guys fully understand. You and I know it, but these guys, especially quarterbacks and especially highly rated quarterbacks, they think they can beat anybody. They think they're the answer. They think they can take any team to a championship, which is what you want. That's why these guys are so highly touted. And that's why they work their tails off, because they want that pressure. And they believe in themselves to do exactly that. So, yeah, I'm sure Deuce Knight is saying, I can be the missing piece in this puzzle. Absolutely.
Auburn's defense has played fairly well. I think you got some guys who are really having standout seasons, one being Keldric Faulk, who will be joining me later in the show. When you think about what Auburn has going on defensively, what are they able to sell to recruits about the way that defense is playing now?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the back end, you could probably pitch playing time pretty quickly. I mean, Keontae Scott has taken a lot of snaps. Jaron Thompson's, he's taken a lot of snaps. I mean, outside of Kayan Lee and Jay Crawford, like you're going to have to replace a lot of dudes. Champ Anthony, has some time, but there's a lot of snaps to go around. So if you're calling a Naeem Offord, or, they've got several DBs that are already committed, playing time is something that they can sell right away. Same at linebacker. I mean, Auburn's got a million senior linebackers, and they've got DJ Barber and DeMarcus Riddick just kind of hanging out there. So you can make that pitch at linebacker. Elijah Melendez is the latest addition to this class, and you're going to see him early and often, I think, at Auburn. Defensive line is a similar thing. They went out to the portal and got a lot of extra defensive linemen with 1 year left of eligibility. And I think that was on purpose, so it wouldn't impact their recruiting too much, where they can say, like, yeah, we went and got a lot of guys, but they won't be here when you're here. So go ahead. You don't need to worry about that. And then by that time, Malik Blockton will have another year under his belt, TJ Lindsey, and, all of those guys up there, Amaris Williams. So I think you pitch playing time. To me, I think that's what it's all about on the defensive side of the football. And the young guys who have played, by the way, they've looked really, really good.
If you had to pick one position group outside of the quarterback room, what position group do you think is most important for Auburn to kill it when it comes to this 25 class in high school recruiting?
Man. So, I mean, they already have the offensive line. Like, I would say offensive line, but they already kind of have killed it on the offensive line. So, like, that's my default answer. But to be somewhat more interesting, corner. I mean, I think the cornerback 2 situation, like, you're expecting to bring back Kayan Lee unless he enters the portal. Like, he can't go pro yet. Kayan Lee, I think, is a true cornerback 1 in the SEC. He's been great in the games that he's played. It's the question of, like, who's next to him. And, like, Keontae Scott hasn't been in, or at least he hasn't been consistent. Jay Crawford has shown flashes, but we've already seen this year you need more than 2 good corners to be competitive in this league. And they've got some young guys who can step up. But, man, if you're this coaching staff, you need to do whatever it takes to get Naeem Offord as part of this class, because he's ready. I mean, he is ready to go day one. And I think he or Jay Crawford would have a fascinating battle to be, the corner opposite Kayan Lee next year. So I'll say corner.
Okay. Do you think that even if Auburn were to flip a guy like Deuce Knight or any other, or get another quarterback in this class from the high school level, do you think that Auburn has to go in the transfer portal to get a guy who's ready to start day one next year with documented production?
Oh, man. Yeah, I think so. Unless, and as we're recording this, like, we don't know who's starting at quarterback moving forward, if it's Peyton Thorne or if it's Hank Brown. So if it's Hank, or if Hank starts, a few more games this year and shows promise and kind of rebounds from the first half that he had against Arkansas, maybe you can rally behind Hank, but you need a little bit more, I guess, proof of production. And so do they give him that opportunity? I think it's best long-term for the program for them to do that. It's definitely best for next season, because you need to know what you've got. But there's a chance that just with what Hugh Freeze has dealt with this part of the season, and really for, like, the entirety of his Auburn tenure, just the frustration of the quarterback position that he's been dealing with, he may go get a guy anyway that's proven elsewhere. There's a lot of criticism right now how he didn't up the ante against Cam Ward. I don't know how much that really was in play, but let's assume it was. Cam Ward, and seeing what he's doing right now for the Hurricanes, it's like, man, it's hard to like see that and think, man, like, Auburn probably does beat Cal and does beat Arkansas if you do have that type of production at quarterback. So whatever, we saw all those different really big numbers. Like, would it have been worth it? It's kind of hard to say that it wouldn't be, as they sit here with 2 losses already.
In baseball, they have this stat that I'm still kind of trying to understand. It's called wins above replacement.
Sure.
Basically shows
WAR.
Well, yeah, the WAR, right? And it basically talks about how important, how many wins individually a guy is worth to this team.
Yeah.
How many wins do you think a transfer portal quarterback would add? A good one. Let's say a good quarterback, a Cam Wardish quarterback. How many wins do you think a Cam Wardish quarterback adds to this team this year?
Well, I think if Cam Ward is quarterback, you're 4-0, so at least 2.
Right.
Which is a big deal. Right. I mean, even if Auburn puts it together and they go 7-5, which I don't know how that's going to happen, but let's say they do, that's a big deal. But I mean, let's look at kind of a more realistic option. I mean, I don't see how Auburn goes to a bowl game this year, the way it's currently
Wow.
set up. So let's say his war wins above replacement, Cam Ward-ish type quarterback, like you said, compared to a Hank Brown or a Peyton Thorne. Let's say it's 3.
Mm.
And I think they go 4-8 based off of how it looks. So if you get him, it changes it to 7-5. But then what's the narrative, Dukes? It's
Right.
you went out and spent $1.5 million to go 7-5. Is that
I
a good
mean,
situation to be in? I don't think so.
And to that point, I think that having a guy that has the confidence of the coach and the team raises the level of play across the board. So
Sure.
I think if you have the guy, then maybe you have a guy, you have someone who can be the coach to get through the guys when they're making small mistakes. I talked to multiple players from Auburn's team, and it's, hey man, these are focus things that we're losing. This is penalty. These are penalties. These are tip balls. These are drop balls. These are fumbles. These are careless interceptions. These are bad run fits. It's a lot of small things that I'm hearing. Broken tackles, not being able to make a consistent tackle. So sometimes you can look to that quarterback and say, I'm going to do it for him. And I think that's one of the things that Auburn is missing is the guy that, hey, on this field, I'm going to do it because I don't want my captain, this guy who's steering this ship, to jump down my throat because I know he will. And I think that's something that Auburn is missing. When you look at Auburn right now, who are some of the leaders on the team that you think can help steer this ship the right way?
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is they're all on the defensive side of the football. Your Eugene Asante's, Phillip Bleedy is a guy who I'm starting to hear more and more as far as just kind of being that vocal dude in the room. Keontae Scott's a name that we've always heard. His play hasn't been great, but he's certainly a guy that seems to be vocal in the locker room. What's so interesting about all of this is whenever you ask Hugh Freeze about Peyton Thorne over the last, how long's he been here? 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing out of his mouth has been leadership before accuracy or decision making or anything like that. And right now, when this team's down, like, you're not really hearing a whole lot of that. Now, we heard how well he handled being benched and how he was supportive of Hank, and he was the first run out there to congratulate him when he scored the touchdown against New Mexico. All that's great, but where is that guy? We heard Damari Alston was that guy, but then he has that fumble that you can tell he's hurting from because then he runs and sits on the sideline and everybody had to console him, and it's like, look, I get that you're hurting, but like, you've been dubbed this vocal leader. You've been dubbed that guy. Like, you got to carry yourself a different way. So to me, like, I don't know who it is on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, I think there's plenty of guys. On the offense, you need a Keandre Lambert-Smith or maybe a younger guy like Connor Liu, the center. You need somebody like that to step up and say, hey, like, let's turn this thing around.
Yeah, I think from what I'm hearing, and I talked to a couple of guys earlier where it was like the mood is us against the world. And we've seen that work before. You've got a team coming off a loss at Oklahoma that's getting ready to come to the Plains.
Oh yeah.
How can not I don't want a prediction. I want to know how Auburn can win this game.
Take care of the football.
Okay.
Win the turnover battle.
Okay.
Is it 16 turnovers on the season? I mean, that's insane.
16, 18, something like that, yeah.
It's insane. It's too much. It's too much. And you're not forcing a whole lot of turnovers. And you did a little bit better. Kane Lee had one. I think there was another one too that I'm blanking on. It's like you had opportunities to win that battle. Just take care of the football. Take care of the football. Go to the ground game. And I think you make it ugly. I think you make it sloppy. I don't think Oklahoma's offense is great. Their defense is really good. And so to me, keep it low scoring. See if you can win the turnover battle. Change what you do offensively. Quit trying to stretch the field. Just make it simple for this team and see what happens. See what happens. Try to be within a few points going into the fourth quarter at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Crazier things have happened.
I think that if Auburn can win this one, this is the must-win game for Auburn this year. I think at this point to keep this thing from going off the rails, because now you go on the road after this. I think
it's brutal.
Yeah, have a brutal schedule, and you need the confines of home to almost kind of catapult you or propel you into becoming a more dominant and a more confident, if anything, road team before you go against this gauntlet of a schedule you have. Zach, Great stuff as always. Where can everybody find you on social media?
Yeah. I'm on socials at Z Blackerby on pretty much everything. And you can check out my show. It's called Locked On Auburn.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm here live with one of Auburn University's brightest young stars, Keldric Faulk, on the 5-Star Flex. Kel, what's going on?
Man, nothing chilling.
All right, for sure. All right, so Keldric, we're gonna start off with your recruitment. You were one of like the linchpins in that class. You flipped from Florida State. Nobody expected it to happen, and you believed in what Auburn was building before anybody else.
Yeah.
What was it about Auburn that made you want to flip from Florida State to Auburn?
Shoot, that family environment at Auburn. Shoot, we had Auburn legends I talked to. They say that whenever they come back, it's still the same as when they was there. So, shoot, that's kind of what I felt, kind of what I wanted whenever I come back to a school, come back to, just be around where I came from. That's kind of why I wanted to feel. So, and then I love the vision that Coach Freeze had implanted in me, and then, you know, just to kind of see that vision uh, unveiling itself is pretty cool.
So when it came to his vision, what was it specifically for you that made you want to be a part of Auburn?
Um, he told me that I was gonna be a difference maker
Mm-hmm.
on the team, and I was gonna be one of the ones to help kickstart this Auburn journey, and
Right.
along with guys with K and Lee, Connor Lou, and Jeremiah Cobb, those guys that came in with me, we we kind of try and take that next step to getting Auburn back what it was.
No, so it's interesting that you said those guys because all of those guys are playing and they're playing pivotal roles early in their careers. How much
Right.
did playing time factor into your decision?
Uh, it really didn't factor too much, just because in college, you as a freshman, you don't expect to play as much as you as much as you would like.
Mm-hmm.
My freshman year, I kind of took as a more developmental year,
Okay.
but never know injuries away. You could become a starter. And so I had to grow up, put my big boy pants on, and go out there and play big boy ball.
Man, what was it like when you got your first start as a true freshman?
Shoot, it was insane for real. Playing
Right.
against LSU, a top 20 team.
Right.
They had Jay Daniels and Will Campbell. Will Campbell at left tackle and Jay Daniels at quarterback. Man, there's them two guys that one is in the NFL now and one is an NFL prospect. So, you know, having that as my first start was an eye opener to what college football really is. And shoot, it's like the mini NFL. That's what you
Right.
gotta look at it as, because you got so many NFL guys that you playing against every Saturday.
Right.
So, you know, I that game right there was a learning curve, and shoot, was a physical curve,
Right.
to say the least. Because I mean, I don't think physically I was ready to go out there and do what I needed to do. But that next week, I had to keep my head down and just keep going.
Right.
So I feel like I progressed from that week to the rest of the season. I feel like I took tremendous steps in my career.
From that time last year to now, you can see the traits last year, but now you can see the whole picture put together. Right now, you're probably one of the best defensive linemen in the SEC. How does it feel to see your hard work pay off so fast?
Uh, shoot, it's just like shoot, this is what I can do with just an off season of training, of proper training. So
Mm-hmm.
shoot, now it's like, if I know I can do this, and shoot, then next year, throughout the rest of the season, I know I'm finna go ahead and do my thing. But then next year, I can make my game turn into a 2 times better player.
No, absolutely. What's it like training with Coach Dom? Everybody talks about how Coach Dom is one of those guys that NFL players love. Everybody talks about Coach Dom's relationship with Laramie Tunsil. And what has Coach Dom meant to you with your development?
So he mean a lot because he keep it real. He
Right.
don't just tell you what you want to hear. He tell you exactly what you need to know to become the player you want to be, become the person you want to be. So he train. He makes sure he trains hard. He take pride in his job. So, that in turn like help us become better players. So
Right.
yeah, just and then shoot when the NFL guys come back to train with him, you know, just getting the knowledge from them as well. Like he got so many guys that come in that only trust him to train them in the off season. And that
Right.
right there just shows you like he actually knows what he's doing. He's he's developing guys the proper way.
Yeah. So speaking of development, we talked about how good of a season you're having, but I don't think a lot of people know you are currently leading the SEC in pressures, and you got 3 sacks in 4 games. With your performance as a true sophomore, what are you telling to younger guys about what they can do when they get their opportunity at Auburn?
Shoot, man, just don't. Like I told some of the young guys after the game Saturday,
Right.
don't don't waste your opportunities. Like every time you step on
Hmm.
that field, it better be 100%. It better be everything you got because it could be your last. And that's how I take the field. I take the field if it's my last snap on the field. Like you
Right.
never know what could happen. Like we had a guy last week, get injured.
Right.
And we hate to see that, but he played every snap like it was his last.
Hmm.
So shoot, that's the mentality you gotta have coming to play. Cause shoot, like I said, any snap, any play
Right.
could be your last snap. And so you don't want your last snap to be something you BSing on.
Nah, you're right. So right now, Auburn season isn't going how you guys planned it. I talked to a few guys, and you guys are 2-2 right now, coming off a tough loss to Arkansas. What are you as a leader kind of spreading to the rest of the team to help you guys stay banded together?
Don't let one game define our season.
Oh, let's
Cause
go. Okay.
one game, yeah, it hurt to lose that. It hurt to lose it, especially knowing that we had so many different opportunities to take the game and just turn that script over.
Hmm.
Um, but shoot, now we just got. I just told him like we gotta really just come back ready to work. Like we
Right.
can't just let our off season, our spring, our summer, uh, be for nothing. Like we came in where we blood, sweat, and tears, we blood, sweat, and cry together out there on that field.
Hmm.
So we gotta, what I'm saying, we gotta pull through this because I mean I told him like it ain't nothing that I ain't prepared to do to go out there and help us win.
There we go.
All right, yeah, I'm laying down my body, I'm laying down my career for y'all. Like what I'm saying? Anything I need to do, I got it. We gonna get it. I need the same thing for everybody else. And shoot, that's what we gonna work towards because I feel like we got a very talented team, but
Hmm.
we gotta just fix those little things, and the little things is what we gotta focus on.
Right.
Our discipline, our discipline during the plays, our discipline before the plays. You know what I'm saying? It's just those little things that we got to focus on to help us become a great football team.
There we go. All right. So there were a lot of recruits in the stands yesterday,
Hmm.
and somebody that Auburn is recruiting very heavily, who's committed, is your little brother, Caleb.
Yeah.
What's your conversation like with him as he goes through his recruitment process?
Shoot, man, just take everything in and shoot. It's wherever you know what I'm saying. I don't never try to persuade them any way. I say wherever
Mhm.
you feel is best for you. I'm 100% for it. So, but right now he feels like Coach Durkin is the one that's going to develop him the best. And
Mhm.
so you know, I tell him like just you know keep your head right and shoot, when you get here, come be a difference maker. Don't be a
Do you
follower, be a difference maker.
There we go. Do you feel like with your success, has it added extra pressure on him, or is he just really comfortable just being who he is because he knows he's a baller too?
Nah, he know he a baller. He know he a baller.
Right.
He to me he a special kind of ball player. So
Yeah.
me coming out here doing my thing. He looking at it like, okay, yeah, I'm 10 times better than him. He not finna outdo me. So he coming out here, yeah, yeah. That's how he think. Yeah, he he ready to come out here and show me up. So I'm saying I can't wait to get him up here, and I can't wait to see what he got.
All right, so your family is really tight. Your mom was really instrumental in your recruitment. What did it mean for your mom to be so closely involved in your recruitment as a family to be able to have somebody like that to lean on?
It was a major part in my recruitment because, like I said, it's only me, my mom, and my brother. So, I grew up without a pops. So whenever I make a big decision, like if I'm finna go and get a car, buy an apartment, or um, shoot, go buy a pair of shoes, and then I'm calling my mom.
Right, there we go.
Anything that I need advice on, I'm calling my mom. Like this, you know what I'm saying? My mom has been with me through everything in my life. Why would I would never take her out of that. So, you
Right.
know, my mom is why I play ball, why why my brother play ball. Shoot, that's why I lace him up on Saturday.
Nah, for sure, man. And then to talk about it, like with the situation with your father, like I believe like you were young when he passed away.
Right.
Um, so having him knowing that he's looking down, how's that been for you? Just knowing that you got somebody in the sky looking down on you that's rooting for you to do well.
Man, that's giving me extra motivation to go out there and do what I do.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
I got protection above me, so man, I can go out here, I can play my hardest.
Man,
Feel
Keldric,
free.
everybody sees how hard you play, man. Like it's crazy. Like it don't matter if things are going good or bad. You see the effort coming from Keldric Faulk. Where did you get that motor from? Like, bro, your motor is insane.
Man, it just come from the love of the game. When you love
Right.
the game, it don't matter what the score is. The score could be 40-0, or it could
Hmm.
be 0-40. You know what I'm saying? We could flip it. I'm gonna still play my hardest ball because I just love the game so much. The game has did so much for me. It'll be wrong for me to cheat the game like that.
Right. As a true sophomore, what's been your favorite moment of being an Auburn Tiger so far?
Going down Tiger Walk, seeing everybody, seeing all the fans, man. Just seeing them before the game and then watching the stands fill up as we come out and we warm up. Man, that's them two are one of my favorite moments. And then
Yeah.
my favorite moment would have to be the fourth quarter during the night game, man. Fourth quarter
Yeah.
during the night game is different than anywhere in the country. Like
Right.
I told them immediately, like when fourth quarter come, it's a different kind of stadium, it's a different kind of team that's coming.
Right. Nah, man, Keldric, I appreciate your time. If you had any message to give Auburn faithful right now, while everybody's feeling crazy right now, what's your message to the Auburn faithful and those fans that you play so hard for?
Man, we gonna get it together. Man,
Right.
y'all stay down with us. We got y'all back.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we gonna get this going.
All right, for sure. And where can everybody find you on social media?
Y'all can find me on Instagram at Keldric Faulk.
Hmm.
Same as Twitter.
Yep.
And I don't really be on Facebook and stuff like that. But yeah, y'all can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Keldric Faulk.
Yeah, hey, don't, hey, man, stop. Hey, it sounds like you trying to say Facebook for the old folks, man. Don't do us like that, bro.
Man, that's all my mama be on. So I gotta say it like that. My mom, my grandmama, that's all they be on.
Man, Keldric, I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.